Well, meeting Right Act Repertory was for me, one of the many hidden blessings of COVID. I would never have met them if it weren't for COVID because I spent the whole lockdown getting on Zooms with people all over the country, all over the world that I had no access to before. And Right Act, what's interesting, they're able to produce both in Los Angeles and New York. But I've been in the theater scene here in Los Angeles for well over a decade. I never met them because they're mostly in New York. But Tamara got stuck here. Tamara Pika got stuck here for the shutdown. But I met them through Theater Resources Unlimited, which is a New York-based community. And Bob Ost, who is the founder and the director of that organization, started doing Zooms immediately after the lockdown, like a week after the lockdown. He started doing Zooms, and somehow I heard about them. Somehow I began coming to he has a community meeting on Fridays. And through that, I just met people. And then through them, I met more people. And somehow along the way, I met John Lant and Tamara Pika, and they are perfect for us because they like to work with a developing show. Because our show, we've only had one reading. That's a very, very new show. My other shows, we've done 3, 4, 5, 6 readings. And, before you get to a point of this kind of production, and they understand very well how to move a piece from something that's still mostly living on paper to getting up on its feet and taking it to where it can go. And they both have so much experience doing that. And it's been so valuable. Again, I'll say for me as a new book writer, to have the dramaturgy that Tamara is so good at to help make the story as strong as it can be. And that has been a really powerful experience that will inform. I have another show I'm planning in my mind that's, again, 3 women. Again, it's historical. And from this experience now, it will inform how I write the next show, which will hopefully then be stronger and less bumpy than this ride has been. Well, other theater creatives, writers and directors and so forth should get involved with Right Act Repertory because your play on paper, your musical theater in particular, you can't create it by yourself. It is created live with all the different people. It's not like, I guess, a novel that's written with the writer and maybe an editor. And then it's finished, it's done. That's what it is. Musical theater is not. It's this choreographer contributing that, this dramaturg contributing that, these actors contributing that. And all this is after 2 years of the book writer and lyricist and composer doing all that we do. And you can't know. And then once you have it, your whole thing is in the book, you've got the score and you think, I've done it. I finished. It's got a beginning, middle, and end. It's done. And then you have a reading, and a reading, it's better than just having it in your brain and on the paper. But even a reading, you still don't see what you have, because when those actors are at their music stand with their book and there's not, even if there's blocking, you still don't know what you have. And it's for me, it's very frustrating to see almost what I think I have, but it's not quite there. And if you don't have such an opportunity like we have now to actually use Right Act, all their resources to get it up on its feet with blocking, with choreography, with lighting, that will, help your audience understand that there was a passage of time between this scene and that scene. Those are the kind of things that if you don't get to a production at this level, you'll never know if what you wrote works. You just can't know. It's impossible. I think it's really important that the community supports Act Repertory and other organizations that develop new work and are reaching out beyond, the usual group of established New York-based writers who have controlled the musical theater world. There are a lot of other people who don't live in New York, who are not established like us. And when you don't hear those stories, you don't know those people are there. Like I read that book, Educated. I can't think of her name right now. The story that was published maybe 3 or 4 years ago. She's a young woman now, and maybe in her late 20s, but she was raised in this fanatic Mormon household in a part of the country where they didn't live close to people. The kids didn't go to school. They were taught by their parents, and they were taught this bizarre version of history and of the world they lived in. And this was an upbringing that is so strange and so off the beaten path that you would never know. I think her name is Tara. You would never know that these people exist. These people are not people whose stories get told, but because this particular young woman is who she was, she managed to claw her way out of that world, get an education, become part of mainstream society, and tell a story that is jaw-droppingly, I don't want to say odd, but unusual. Like the whole time I'm reading it, I was thinking, oh my God, I didn't know people like this existed. And people like this, they exist, but you don't know what it's like. You don't know what they were thinking. You just think, oh, those weirdos who do those weird things and believe these weird things. And those people exist. They're contributing to our world, whether we know it or not. And for a company like Act reaching out beyond the people who are generally allowed to tell stories gives us a fuller interpretation of our world. And in this time when we've all seen how the way the internet works and social media and the way they advertise to you, the way they follow what you're doing and then support the world you're living in, to the point that we're all living in different worlds now. We all think our world is one way. My neighbor thinks the world is a different way. And people really believe. There are people who believe with all their hearts whatever they were told by Trump, for example, where there's people who believe with all their hearts the opposite. And there doesn't seem to be a convergence. There seems like everybody's believing their own thing now. And it's desperately needed that every version of the story gets told, and that we're all open to listening to every version of people's realities. And you can't do that when you're only producing The Lion King and these big movies made by these big corporations. That's not doing that.